laying it out.
Okay, what's the anti-aging vaccine?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm aging much faster now that I know my mom's going to be cutting
You're in
down my
serious trouble.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's this paper that just came out where they've made a vaccine for mice that prevents them from aging. It slows their aging so that their lifespan is expanded by like 40%, which is just totally nuts. And so here's basically how it works is that you have to kind of understand what aging is. And the idea is that, you're an organism and you have all these cellular things going on, and there's a bit of a mess that accumulates, but your body, when you're young, is good at cleaning up the mess as you go. But as you get older, eventually some of those cleanup processes get broken or they stop working and things start to accumulate in your body, and then you start to have degradation. And that is what biological aging is. And that is what happens when you get cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, chronic kidney disease, even dementia can be explained by this. So the idea is to give a vaccine to somebody where you have this virus that's been engineered to make certain proteins, and those proteins are the cleanup proteins that your body's not making that well anymore. And they have funny names like telomerase reverse transcriptase and follistatin. And when you put these into a vaccine and you give it to the mice, they live like 40% longer. So normally a mouse can only live like 30 months, but you can get them to live like 40 months.
And are they healthy, or are they like they're aging, or...
No, that's the thing. It's not like Mr. Burns where he just doesn't die and he's just getting older and older and older. It's like staying young for longer, right? Forever young, if you will. If only there were a song with those lyrics.
I know, that would be great.
So it's pretty exciting. And so this is a vaccine they gave to the mice once a month. They can give it as an injection. They also tried giving it as a nasal spray, and it worked both ways. Now, it's still a long way from being something that humans would get, but all the pieces are there for them to try.
How much longer are they living?
Well, they're living, instead of living for about 30 months, they're living for about 40 months. And so if you put that into human equivalents, you're talking about extending the average lifespan from just below 80 years to somewhere above 110 years.
Holy mackerel. And
that's if it translates right over. I mean, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts and all that stuff. They don't even have it in a virus that they could give to people yet. They have to completely re-engineer it.
So they're basically just making our proteins like super proteins.
Yeah, going back to my childhood, I had a very messy room, and it's because I like early on you clean up, and then after a while you just sort of get used to the mess and you don't do any cleaning, and then it gets harder and harder to clean. It's kind of like that with the human body. And so it's kind of like having a house cleaner come in and clean up the space for you. And that's what what about your
eyes? What are other things degenerating? Like, do you go blind? Like, some parts, do other parts of your body age and some doesn't?
Yeah. So what they measured in this one was a bunch of stuff in the mice that they say translates well to what would happen in humans. And so they looked at something called glucose tolerance. That's basically whether you have a predisposition for diabetes, right? If you give big spikes of glucose, does the body regulate that okay, or does it start to lose that? Physical performance, just how strong the mice were. Body mass, keeping body mass and not getting old and frail and losing that body mass. These mice that were getting the vaccine were staying big longer. And it prevented something else, alopecia, which is the loss of hair, and that was something that you saw in the mice that weren't getting the vaccine, but you didn't see until much later in the mice that did get the vaccine. So these are things that they say would translate right over to people, but they are very clear that we have a technology, this might work, but there are a lot of things that have to happen before we can apply it to people. But wouldn't it be cool? I mean, wouldn't that really be neat? If it were that simple.
An anti-aging vaccine. The only anti-aging vaccine for Dan and I right now, folks, is to go back to 1986 when Top Gun was released, and to go to the theaters and see Tom Cruise, who must have one of those, and in Maverick, which, by the way, I hear is great, and I'm dying to see this new Top Gun.
Yeah, it's like going back in time, and that's the best we can do because we don't have the vaccine.
We don't have the vaccine, so we just got to go see the sequel.
I don't know what Tom Cruise is using, though, because he doesn't seem to age. That's the freaky part.
He's using something, I'll tell you. Dan Riskin, CTV science and technology specialist, and